So for Fight Night Picks fans, you folks are going to enjoy this because coming up this weekend, we have Greece's Andreas Michailidis taking on, finally, the debuting Rinat Fakhretdinov. I know so many people are excited about the guy. On the right-hand side of the screen, that's not Matt Allen. It's the man with the AKA Thailand muscle shirt.
I don't think we could look any different.
In Fakhretdinov. But when it comes to this fight, I'm going to talk a little bit about Andreas Michailidis. So save your excitement for just a second, because for Michailidis, the promotion let him hit off a tee one time, then he went up 3-0 against like Dylan Cease and he struck out. And then if you really focus on it, coming up this weekend, it's like, okay, well, you struck out your last time. Here's Shane McClanahan. Go try and get a hit off of him. It's not going to happen. So for you non-baseball fans, what I'm saying is, for Michailidis, his last time out, he was up 3-0. He was able to win a convincing round against Alex Pereira. He looked really good with his takedowns in that first round. Comes out in the second round, you're already up 3-0. You're going to get a fastball. And he gets a flying knee to the dome and he gets knocked out. So coming up this weekend, it's like, okay, we're going to give Andreas another shot against a really hyped prospect, like trying to hit off McClanahan. McClanahan and Cease, two of the biggest strikeout artists in the game right now. And when it comes to Rinat Fakhretdinov, the guy's 20-2, but Matt, all the chatter I see about the card coming up this weekend, no word of lies about Fakhretdinov and how excited fans are about his style.
I'm pretty excited about his style, but I gotta be honest, I haven't seen as much hype. I'm excited, though, that a guy making his UFC debut is getting a lot of notoriety coming in, and this is a fairly favorable stylistic matchup for him, if we are being honest, because if you know anything about Rinat Fakhretdinov, I think I said that right, it's that, I don't know if you remember our boy Eric Spicely, and I say our boy just because he's Canadian, but he had a bit of a run in the UFC.
American, but he trained in TriStar.
Trained in TriStar. He beat Thiago Santos. That's a wild thing to say, but he did. He submitted a rear naked choke. Here's the thing. Gets cut by the UFC. Signs a deal with UAE Warriors. Puts out a tweet. Hey guys, I've got a fight coming up soon. You should check it out. And that's what I did. I was going to check out Eric Spicely's up-and-coming fight. It didn't go well for him at all. And with Rinat, he almost throws punches in that like Daniel Cormier, Volkan Oezdemir kind of way, where he will get the arm flailing tube man going every now and then, where it will be very looping hook-esque, and it will leave wide openings, and that's what I really do worry about in this fight against Michailidis, who, it is weird, if you just look at Michailidis' run in the UFC, then yes, you were probably not impressed by him whatsoever, but even look at these small amounts of success that he has had in isolated moments throughout his fights. Like you said, he looked pretty good early on against Alex Pereira, a guy who we all know and quite a few people do love. He's going to be fighting Sean Strickland soon in a main event that has major title implications moving forward.
One guy's allowed on Twitter.
That's true, and the other guy is not. But for Michailidis, he does have that back pocket, or he does have that takedown in his back pocket. It would just be nice to see him actually mix in his striking with his takedown a little bit more, instead of being all one or all the other, because he does have pretty good movement on the feet. It's something I do like out of his style, but the problem is, he doesn't have that in-between. I know this is something we talk about for fighters all the time. Like, Gilbert Burns was the poster boy for, hey, he's pretty good at all these singular areas if you can only bring it together. With Michailidis, he doesn't have any one background that is like Gilbert Burns jiu-jitsu that he can fall on, but he does have very good singular skills that if he could actually get them all together, then I think we could see, maybe not a title run out of him, but we could see a 3-4 fight win streak out of him in the UFC.
Red Rover, send Craig over. So for Michailidis, he is a 2010 European BJJ champion. He does have that. 3-time kickboxing champion. But you're right. He lacks every single in-between. Like,
odd.
When it comes to his striking, it's flashy. There's a lot of wasted movement. But when it's good, it's really good. Like the Marcel Fortuna fight's the one that I think of. Like, really flashy spin kicks. And when it comes down to this fight, I know, again, folks are all about Rinat Fakhretdinov. This guy's the wonkiest striker I've ever seen. And again, this fight, and I can't stress this enough, you can see the two weights up there. Middleweight. But if you go over to Tapology, UFC stats, the UFC press release, dropping down to welterweight. This fight's at welterweight. I don't know what either guy is going to look like on the scale. This is so sketchy. And again, Fakhretdinov's a guy that will plant and throw, but then after he's thrown his one club, he'll continue to throw 3 or 4 more punches. It's so sloppy, his striking. And again, former GFC champ is Fakhretdinov, but he relinquished the belt because he didn't want to fight his Muslim brothers, and I respect that. I mean, listen, stick to your convictions and your morals. Like, that's pretty cool. So for Fakhretdinov, GFC champ, the Habib promotion he took a lot of time off. He fights Eric Spicely, knocks him out in front of Dana White. Dana White's looking for a fight, before looking for FWD to a fight. Before, who was it? Diego Sanchez and his coach, before it got really weird. But Fakhretdinov gets a big win. Dana's talking about signing him. And now a year and a half later, we're here. He's fighting Andreas Michailidis. But again, UFC stats have Fakhretdinov's record is 18-1. Other sources 20-2. So it's sketchy. And also, level competition, very bad.
It is very poor, but again, we do have to say something that we often say. He beat the guys in the way that you do want him to beat them for the most part. He does have a ton of stoppages on his record via submission and via knockout. Against, you are right, he hasn't been tested a lot, but it does have to be said, he has looked really good in those fights. It's not like he was having close fights with guys who were like 1-2 and then destroying guys who were 0-5, you know? So for Fakhretdinov, I think he does have a big X factor in this fight, and I do agree with everything you said. He is wild. He does strike in a straight line. Michailidis defends in a straight line a lot of the times. He does have good left to right movement, but when he gets blitzed, when he gets pressured, he will just go straight backwards. And sometimes it'll be, I get my back to the cage, then I'll try to shoot a takedown. Sometimes it'll be, I get my back to the cage and I try to strike. But the common factor in all of this is that Michailidis can get backed up in his fights if he's not doing something offensive. So if Fakhretdinov is able to, maybe not even stun him, just land one good strike, decide to follow up with a blitz. If Michailidis doesn't exit on an angle and Fakhretdinov just follows him with his feet, all of those strikes are going to continue to land, and it will be interesting to see what cardio of both these guys is going to be as this fight goes on, because I think they're going to fight at a pretty crazy pace early on. I really do. And I don't expect either guy's style to really tend towards longevity in this fight, so I will be very curious to see what does Michailidis look like in the third round if he is defending a lot of these flurries and if he's not really able to get off his own offense. But the same thing has to be said. If Rinat's just throwing a lot of power punches and he's not able to get Michailidis out of there, especially early, if he's throwing 130 power shots, I doubt he's going to look very good between minute 10 and 15 of this fight.
And when it comes to Fakhretdinov, a pancration and combat sambo background, and the sketchy thing about him too, so offensively, you saw the combination against Spicely. He went left kick to the leg, he went left, and then he went right overhand, knocked him dead. He will back up on a straight line with his hands down and his head up, looking for the left hook counter that doesn't land every time. But occasionally what he'll do is he'll time that and fake it and go for the double leg takedown, and he gets it time and again. And the other thing about him, he's kind of like Judo Dan Kelly. He comes out with the leg braces, the knee wraps. So from Fakhretdinov, look for that. Training out of big gyms. Obviously, you see it in the picture, aka Thailand's the picture that I got of him. But also the American top teams of the world as well. I've seen Fakhretdinov. I've been talking about him for a year now, but I've seen him at Extreme Couture. I've seen him in Vegas at the PI getting ready with guys. For Michailidis, he was an MMA Masters guy, but also training at home in EFL Martial Arts in Greece. So coming down to this fight, you look at the odds. Michailidis open a plus 250, plus 227 right now in best fight odds. For Fakhretdinov, open to minus 300, minus 289. Looking at the Topology votes, surprised to us as they are to you, but I'm going to say over under 85% Fakhretdinov here.
I'll say slightly under.
Slightly over.
Wow.
1,270 total votes, 91% Fakhretdinov, 74% by knockout for the 9% that have Michailidis, 51% by decision, 31% by knockout. So Matt, when it comes down to this pick, this fight's at welterweight. Throw everything out the door that you know about these two guys. I'd say take the under if I was really making a pick, because again, Michailidis doesn't have good cardio at 185 pounds. So
or a great chin.
170, it's probably not great. Fakhretdinov, it remains to be seen. What's the pick here?
I like Fakhretdinov in this, and people get on me all the time when I say this, and I think it's ridiculous. The UFC is a lot more like most boxing promotions than I think we realize. And guess what? You're right. They do have a hyped up prospect in one half of this fight. And I do think they are trying to give him not an easy fight for his first fight by any means. Because again, Michailidis is well-rounded. He's just weird. It's like, you ever play 3-on-3 in a park, and it's not like you're really playing 3-on-3. It's like there's 3 one-on-ones going on. That's like how Michailidis does MMA. He's got hit all of his styles. There's just no synergy between any of them, and I do think Fakhretdinov can take advantage of that. But again, I will say this. His striking leaves massive holes open, so even if he does look really good in this fight and does get the knockout, he might still show some areas that could be taken advantage of by better fighters in the future.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the guys that Fakhretdinov's fought in the past, they're definitely guys that are brought in that are weight classes lower, beefed up to 185, and then he's beating them, taking them down, so on and so forth. I'll take Fakhretdinov in this fight just due to the strength of the camps, due to the layoff, but improvements that we could see. Usually around 30, you're not seeing giant leaps and bounds of improvements, but I think the takedowns are going to be big for him. And again, Michailidis, lacking the in-betweens. Good at the jiu-jitsu, though, so we'll see how it plays out, but ever so slightly, I'm going with Fakhretdinov here, and I have so many things against him that I would stay away from this fight with Pop and the popcorn nearby. So both of us going with Gladiator, Rinat Fakhretdinov. It should be a big-time fight and a big-time main event between Alexander Volkov, old Drago. He's taking on Biggie Boy, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. You're not going to want to miss it, so keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.